Hey RM students, in this video I'm going to explain what the S, P, D, and F blocks are in the periodic table. A while back we talked about what these periods were, or not periods, sorry, what these sections were in the periodic table. If you forgot what they are, I will cover it again right now in this video. So we have the first block, which is the S block, and that one is found right over here in the first and second groups of the periodic table. So this right here is the S block. Now, if you pay attention, right here we have a missing element. Well, it turns out that that element is helium, which is on the other side of the periodic table. So helium itself is also part of the S block. I will first tell you where the blocks are located, and then I will tell you how you can use them to help you figure out the electron configuration of a specific element. So we have the S block right there. Then we have my next block, which is the P block over here. Then I have my D block, which is right here in the middle. And then I have my F block all the way down here, made up of my lanthanides and actinides. So these two rows right here. Now, when we talk about the electron configuration for an element, what we are talking about is where that electron is located within the atom itself. So you guys know that in an atom, or the idea that we have of an atom so far is that you have a nucleus in the middle where you have protons and neutrons. Then on the outside, you have these orbits, which are actually not orbits, but they are levels where the electrons can be found. So we talked about how if an electron is right here, we call that the first level, and that would be n equals 1. Then you can go next level would be 2, next one would be 3, next one would be 4. In theory, you could keep on going forever and ever and ever, but that doesn't necessarily happen with our atoms. So just know that first, you would have to look at the levels that you are dealing with. Now, how do I see that in my periodic table? Well, it turns out that your levels that the electrons are located in, you can actually tell, with some exceptions, you can tell where they are by just counting the period number. If you don't remember what a period is, that's just one horizontal section of the periodic table. So right here, my first period, number 1, would include hydrogen and helium, and those two, their electrons would be located in the first level. Then I go on to number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, number 6, and number 7. So I can go up to level 7. Now you might be asking yourself, what about these two? Is this 8 and 9? Well, it's not 8 and 9. It's actually, this one is still part of level 4, and this one's part of level 5. Now where they're actually located in the periodic table is a little tricky, but that'll be something that you'll have to remember. And those are the only two exceptions. So you have these two, which go down 2 levels. So you can see that this is level 6, but this one turns into level 4. And then same thing with this one. You go down 2, so instead of level 7 down here, it becomes level 5. The other exception, so that was the first one. The other one happens here in the D block. And this might be hard to see, but just know that this says D block. So my D block starts right here. This is my first level of the D block, but you can see that it is actually level 4 overall in the periodic table. Instead of having level 4, this turns into level 3. So when you think about the D and the D block, it stands for something different, but you can think of a different dimension where instead of being in level 4, you're in level 3. And after you exit the D block or this dimension right here, you go back to level 4. Remember that this right here is my P block, right? And so I would go from level 3 in the D block back to level 4 in the P block itself. So my first thing, again, that I wanted to focus on was the levels that the electron could be, that the electrons for a specific atom could be located in. So when you think about this, I want you to think of stories to a building. So if you are in level 1, you're in the first story. If you go on to level 2, you're now in the second story. And then if you go to level 3, you're now in the third story. Or floors. You could say first floor, second floor, third floor. Now, when you think about the stories or the floors within a building, it's not like one floor, right, will have just one room. It's not like it'll be just one room. Within that floor, you'll have multiple rooms. Now, it turns out that for our first floor, in this case, we do just have one room. But then as you go up to the second floor, it actually becomes, you could say, 2 separate rooms. Okay, so level 1 will have electrons in the S sublevel. Level 2 will have electrons in the S sublevel and the P sublevel. Level 3 will have electrons in the S sublevel, P sublevel, and D sublevel. And then my fourth floor, which I'm sorry you can't see, but you have S sublevel, P sublevel, D sublevel, and if you remember those blocks, our last one is the F sublevel. So when I talk about a sublevel, I just want you to think about the rooms in a specific floor of a building. So the first floor just has one sublevel or one room. The second level has 2 sublevels or 2 rooms. The third sublevel has 3 sublevels, S, P, and D. And the fourth sublevel has 4 sections or 4 rooms. Sorry, the fourth level has 4 sublevels. 1, 2, 3, 4, that's S, P, D, and F.